Welcome back to Power in the Pause. I'm your host, Chelsea, and this is the space where we slow down, breathe for a moment, and remember that sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is pause. Today, we're talking about something that comes after people pleasing, after codependency, after you start realizing you've been showing up for everyone but yourself. We're talking about how to trust yourself again. And sis, this is what no one really prepares you for because a lot of women think the hardest part is setting boundaries or saying no or speaking up. But the deeper work is learning how to trust yourself again after years of not listening to your own voice. Because this is what people pleasing slowly does over time. It disconnects you from yourself, not all at once, but in small moments. Every time you said yes when you meant no, every time you ignored your gut feeling, every time you prioritized someone else's comfort over your own truth, every time you told yourself, it's not a big deal, I'll just go along with it. Those moments add up. And eventually, something just doesn't feel right anymore. You begin to feel off. You start second guessing yourself, overthinking everything, looking outside of yourself for validation. Not because you're incapable, but because somewhere along the way you learned my voice isn't the one we listen to. So now, even when you do try to show up differently, you hesitate. You question yourself. You wonder if you're being too much, too emotional, too selfish. And sis, I want you to hear me clearly. That's not because you can't trust yourself. It's because you've been in practice of not trusting yourself. Self trust isn't something you either have or don't have. It's something that gets built or broken through repetition. So, if you've spent years overriding your own needs, of course it's going to feel unfamiliar to suddenly honor them. That doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It just means you're doing something new. But here's where we can begin the shift that changes everything. Self trust is built in the smallest moments, not the big, dramatic decisions, the small ones, the quiet ones, the everyday ones where no one else is watching. So, like noticing when you're tired and actually resting, saying, let me get back to you instead of automatically saying yes or responding to the text, honoring a boundary even when it feels uncomfortable, listening to that gut feeling instead of explaining it away. Every time you do that, you send a message to yourself. I hear you. And that's how self trust starts to rebuild. But this is where it gets really fucking hard because rebuilding self trust means sitting with something that so many women try to avoid: discomfort. Discomfort is when someone is disappointed, discomfort when you don't over explain, discomfort when you choose yourself and it's feeling uncomfortable and unfamiliar. And if you've been conditioned to keep everything smooth and peaceful, that discomfort and uncertainty can feel like something is wrong, but it's not wrong. It's just different. So before we go any further, sis, let's pause together for a moment. Wherever you are, just take a second. Take a slow breath in, pause, and a slow breath out. Again, inhale, pause, exhale. And just notice yourself for a moment. Notice if there's a part of you that used to look outside for answers. Notice if there's a part of you that doesn't fully trust your own voice yet. And instead of judging that part, just acknowledge it. Address it with curiosity and compassion. Because that part learned to operate that way for a reason. And today, we're not trying to force change, we're just creating awareness, self awareness. Sis, rebuilding self trust also requires a new way of thinking because a lot of women are waiting to feel confident before they trust themselves, But it doesn't work like that. Confidence comes after self trust, not before it. You build confidence by keeping small promises to yourself, by showing up for yourself consistently, by choosing yourself in the moments when you used to abandon yourself. So let me make this real for a second. I want to give you something practical to take with you this week. Not something overwhelming, just a few simple steps. First, start noticing your automatic yeses, the moments where you respond without checking in with yourself first. And instead of immediately answering, pause. Even if it's just for a few seconds, that pause is where self trust begins. Okay, second, ask yourself one question. What do I actually want right now? Not what's easiest, not what's going to keep the peace, not what's going to make someone else comfortable. What do you want? And just sit with that answer. Third, follow through on one small thing for yourself each day. Something simple, maybe low risk. Rest when you're tired. Speak up in a small moment. Say no without explaining. Because self trust isn't built through perfection, it's built through consistency. And sis, if I can ask that you take anything from me today, let it be this. You don't rebuild self trust by proving yourself to other people. You rebuild self trust by showing yourself that you won't abandon you anymore. And that takes time. It takes patience. It takes grace, but it is possible. So if you notice yourself this week second guessing everything, or looking for validation, or feeling unsure of your decisions, I want you to pause and ask yourself, what would it look like to trust myself in this moment? You don't have to get it perfect. You just have to start practicing. Thank you for pausing to spend this moment with me today. If this episode resonated with you, share it with another woman who's learning how to come back home to herself. And if you want more conversations like this about healing, growth, and stepping into the woman you're becoming, come join me over on Instagram at She Is Society Official. Until next time, sis, remember, there's always power in the pause.